This video is going to go over the basics of recording drums and how to incorporate them into a track. So to start off with, I've found a sample that I want to use, and I'm going to play that through a little bit first and then show how you can make drums to accompany it. And it essentially loops like that. So to start off with, I'm gonna make a pattern for the drums, just in the playlist, so I can work with something. What I've currently set up so far is I have sort of a click, I have a kick, I have a hi-hat, I have a snare, and then I have two 808s, one that's an E, one that's an F sharp. You could, of course, go into piano roll and sort of tune the 808s yourself, but I had found these, so I'm just going to roll with that. So how you can do this, essentially, the channel rack works very easily with making drums. You can basically just go into it and click, and whatever you find is going to be here. Hold on one second. You switch it to drums first because you want to make the drum patterns separate from the sample. Switch from song to pattern, and now go back to the channel rack up here, and you can find it, and essentially you click wherever you want and you can just make the sound. I clicked on the kick section and you find the kicks there. For this pattern specifically, I'm gonna put in hi-hats for every first and third, just as an example. I think that kind of ticking will work well. I'm just gonna click on it and adjust the volume to make it a bit quieter so it's more in the background and not the main focus. For the 808, I want to start it with this, and then I kind of want to put something here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in one here and here for the F sharp and have the 808 sort of move up instead of staying on the same sort of note and giving it like a little more monotony. I want to kind of spice it up with some variation. One thing you can notice is that the 808 is kind of too long in this instance, so I'm going to shorten the F sharp 808 at least a bit. And you can kind of experiment with it. You'll find eventually where you want to put it. That sounds perfect. They're not going into each other at this point, and I like the sound of that. So now I'm just going to put in like a little click roll and put in some kick here, 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 and here. All you have to do is click, and let's say if I put in like, let's hear this. So for example, I don't want there to be kicks in just every measure and kind of like make it sound too overwhelming. I want to give it more variation. So you can right click on things you've already put in to remove the note from the pattern, and now it'll sound like this. I actually want to add one more thing, give it a bit more. I'm just going to go into one of my drum kits and get this. I want another sort of like click roll to give it a bit more spice. Let's hear. other one. And now that we have that, this is the drum pattern that I've essentially come up with. What you can do here, though, is if you want to go into the piano roll, you can do a couple of things in here with it. For example, if you wanted to, you could just Control A and highlight all of the hi-hats. If you go into here, yeah, you click on hi-hat. If you wanted to, here, what I'm gonna do is zoom in a bit more so I can access just this and move it a bit so I can make it a bit offbeat. You can mess with the beat in here while still keeping it relatively in rhythm. If you zoom in enough, you can make things offbeat if you want to. You can also adjust the pitch, of course. So if I wanted to adjust the pitch of the hi-hat, I would just move it up a note. And I could always undo and kind of hear them side by side. But I actually like it at a C sharp, so I'm going to keep it there. And then essentially just going to drag it in to come in here. And just drag that for a few measures. And let's hear. Switch to song. And let's hear it. So that's some very basic fundamentals to making drums. I guess the takeaway here is you want to sort of experiment with different sounds that you can put in. For example, I hadn't used the snare, but if I wanted to, let me put it in right here. I'm just going to incorporate it a few times and make it a bit quieter because I already like what we have, but I'll put in just the snare a little bit. Maybe keep it short. And let's listen to the pattern again. So you can always experiment with different sort of drums and keep them together, but basically the most important things are kick or 808, or you can use both. The hi-hat, the snare, and you can always do clicks or claps to sort of add a bit of rhythm into your drums. But those are the fundamentals of how you want to use the channel rack when you're working with drums. And there you go.